Hey everyone, welcome to the North American Challenger Series playoffs. I am David Freak Cheerly, and alongside me is a man who appreciates even a mediocre thresh hook, Aiden Zyrene Moon.
At least I'm not getting hit by him, Fleek.
That's true.
Shout out to Riv.
You just called Riv mediocre. That's actually messed up. Riv's a wonderful gentleman. Now, we are coming down to the final four contenders for an LCS spot in North America, and with one semifinal match down, here's how the bracket stands. Now, today's Best of 3 series is first seed Team Coast against fourth place Cloud9 Tempest, and whoever wins tonight will face Renegades in the Challenger Finals next Wednesday for the right to automatically join the North American LCS for 2016.
That's right, and tonight's losing team will enter the third place match against Team Imagine on Tuesday for the chance to still compete for an LCS spot. After the playoffs, those second and third will play in the Spring Promotion Tournament against Team 8 and Enemy Esports on September 5th and 6th.
So today's Best of 3 matchup is just moments away with Team Coast going up against Cloud9 Tempest. Coast had higher seed. They chose blue side game 1 and 3. C19 chose blue for their game as well, which is game 2. So standard alternations here. But we gotta show you who is competing in this game. Roster rundowns in front of us here. Top laner for Team Coast is Chris. I think by far the best top laner in Challenger.
He's the most damaging top laner for sure. This guy averages over 180 more damage per minute than the next highest top laner.
Jeez.
He's an absolute beast in the top lane, and nobody in Challenger seems to be able to stop him just yet.
And I like that even though he's super aggressive and plays champs like Riven, he's still got less than 1 death per game. So, I mean, ridiculously good player. We'll see if he can step up for LCS if he makes it later on in the year. Next up, though, another absolute MVP. Shrimp in the jungle has been crushing people this split.
Man, Shrimp, I don't know where he came from. I do, though, actually. He came from Korea over here. And this guy, his style that he's brought in, it's very high economy, but he's taking the economy from the other jungler. He's got very high counter jungling stats, and at the same time, while farming, he has the highest kill participation out of all junglers, and it's absolutely crazy. It's 82%.
Yeah. And, I mean, he'll even end games the highest gold on his team. This guy gets the money, and he makes it work, so props to him. Next up in the mid lane, though, Pekin Wolf. He's still a solid player. When you've got people who are topping the charts, someone's got to be below the average at this point. That is Pekin Wolf here. Still a solid player, just a bit overshadowed.
Yeah, he's overshadowed by his team, definitely. He has the lowest kill participation of the team. But what he is he's the insurance policy. He's the AP Kog'Maw. He's the poke Varus. So he's the guy who's letting his team set up. And also, it hasn't happened yet, but if Chris falls behind, if Shrimp isn't able to execute, and they also don't get MASH off the floor, then Pekin Wolf's the guy that they fall back on for the damage.
And it's interesting they chose him to play damage champions, not so much like the mid Karma, the mid Lulu support mid laner. So he's still a damage source.
Another
for the team.
threat.
Right, exactly. He's there to be a threat, and probably the biggest threat on this team is MASH, the AD carry. Many people consider him the best AD carry in Challenger, and when you got guys like Chris and Shrimp on the team, it's pretty easy to continue to look well. Highest KDA in the Challenger Series entirely, and he's just been wonderful.
Yeah, he's been absolutely great. And you see his CS differential at 10 is actually negative, but he averages up in gold over his opponents because he's killing them. He's not farming creeps, he's farming champions.
Yep. Unfortunately, champions do not count as CS, even though champion stats could have been a thing here. But yeah, also less than 1 death per game. 2 of the big carry threats just unkilled here.
Well, we also do have champion stats. He's killed 69 champions.
There you go. You know what I mean. All right, there's no champion. You know what? We're good. We're going to move on. His support, Conquan, actually also a big standout here. He actually leads the league in not only wards per game, but wards per minute as well. This guy is making sure the team is able to kind of fire on all cylinders.
Exactly. He places in 3 minutes 4 wards.
Yeah.
So just imagine being able to fill up your sight zone and put them all down in 3 minutes. Some of those wards are ineffective, but he makes the most out of every one of them. And it actually makes Coast the most vision-centric team out of everybody.
Yeah, that's actually impressive. And the fact that he's got 123 assists as well, it's not like he's recalling on cooldown. Just be like, all right, sight stone's planted, let's go. He's actually doing a whole lot of work, so props to Conquan for being awesome. But in our opinion, the guy who holds this entire lineup together, the MVP of this team has got to be the jungler Shrimp. He is statistically by far the best jungler in the Challenger Series.
Yeah, he's not just the new guy to the Challenger Series, he's the new guy to North America. And when he just came on the scene, he really just brought this new style. He's counter jungling, and then he sees opportunities near the counter jungling. And even then, the camps he's going for might actually create an opportunity themselves when you have to fight him for that. You can't let this guy have Rek'Sai. He absolutely dictates the pace of the game when he does.
Yeah, and he's got so many ridiculous stats. He's got like double the assists of the next jungler in line.
He's got 120 assists, and the next highest is 66.
Yeah. he's pretty damn good at this game. So, okay, Shrimp's awesome. Coast, I think they are the clear favorites, not only for this series, but I think Challenger in general. They were the first seed coming in. These guys are absolutely crazy, but the tough task is still ahead of their opponents, Cloud9 Tempest here, who have a chance of winning. They've been boot camping in the Cloud9 compound for the last little while. Maybe they are doing a lot better than we expected. We haven't seen them in 2 weeks. It's been a week off in Challenger, so if these guys step up, then good for them. First guy in the docket, Solo here in the top lane.
And like you were just talking about, we haven't seen them for 2 weeks, but they did last time we see them take a game off of Coast, who they're up against here. And Solo was a big part of that. Solo, even though you see his scoreline, he has more deaths than kills. He actually has the highest kill participation out of all top laners. He's looking for those TP plays, and his CS differential helps him get that advantage in lane. Up against Chris, though, it's a tall task today for the top laner of C9T.
And of course, one thing to keep in mind is C9T are the 4th seed coming in, so their stats are all going to look deflated here, but the fact that this team is 5-5, and he's still got minion lead in lane is a pretty darn impressive thing. Next up, the jungler here, Hard, also doing what he can to keep the team afloat and got him into playoffs.
Yeah, he's second in wards placed out of all junglers, so he actually is the person who's carrying that gap and that burden for the team and making it so that they have vision of these plays. He likes playing the Rek'Sai. He's played the Nunu as well, where they make compositions around Yasui's Azir and Laud in the bot lane. So he's very supplemental jungler. He's not the type of carry jungler that Shrimp is, so it's a different style coming in here for Hard.
Yeah, he's had literally 2 games that weren't on Rek'Sai or Gragas this split. One of them was Italy, one of them was Evelyn back in week 2, but this guy is there to be a tank for the roster. Next up, for the guy who is there to deal damage, Yasui in the mid lane actually has some of the most impressive stats of mid laners here.
Oh yeah, even though his kill participation is low because Cloud9 Tempest just seems to actually solo kill people in lane, he has very high damage. He's right behind Alex Each in damage. He's right behind him in CS differential at 10 and how much pressure he has in lane. So Yasui is one of the guys who you have to watch out for, because if you miss position, he'll try to solo kill you and he'll go for that play. And usually, Solo will be there to back him up with a TP.
Yeah, this is probably the big advantage here that C9T has. Yasui, I think we are expecting him to do very well against Peek and Wolf, and if C9T can key off Yasui, then this team looks pretty good. But he's got some backup as well. Laud, the 80 carry for the roster, actually another very impressive player, right? Pretty good kill to death margin for a team that is 5-5. To only have 2 deaths a game is pretty solid here. And he's just been impressive for the last year or so, whether he's playing mid lane or 80 carry.
Yeah, you really just have to ban out his Sivir every time you run into this guy. Make sure he can't get that champion, and then he falls back on Vayne and things like that and has carry potential in the game still. So when he gets the Sivir, he gets to hit the go button, shot call, say this is where we're taking the fight, and that's where Cloud9 Tempest excels. So that I expect to see on the ban list.
And meanwhile, his lane partner here is going to be Sheep up in the, or down in the bottom lane, maybe the lane swap, who knows. Somewhere in the jungle, somewhere in the game is going to be Sheep here, and Sheep has actually, I think, extended his play style quite a lot. He was mostly known for playing Thresh, but you can see the Annie and Shen coming in recently. He's been a very solid player.
I don't know if the Thresh will come back, though. He's always all about the engaging, starting the fights off, because Hard and him are the kind of the duo who usually take that burden on themselves to make it happen at the right time. So Sheep, see what he has today, and if he can start the fights off on the right foot.
Yeah, he's played a disengaged support once in Janna. Otherwise, it's Nautilus, Thresh, Annie, Shen, something to go in there and start fights out, be an engaged champion. We'll see if that comes through, but we want to highlight a player for the entire lineup. We do think it's going to be Laud, the AD carry here of Cloud9 Tempest. Last year, he was a mid laner, one of the best in Challenger. He's back in AD carry, still one of the best in Challenger.
Definitely. He's made the finals of Challenger multiple times, or at least the playoffs of Challenger multiple times, I believe. So yeah, this guy has experience, and he can rally the roster around him, and he's able to make compositions. You can see right here, this is just a great example of a Sivir play, where this is where they're actually down in gold. They're going to take a fight, and that's advantageous. So when he's on his game, he's able to take the entire team with him. So that's something I don't expect Coast to let him have.
I don't think so either, but we'll always see. I mean, picks and bans can get kind of crazy sometimes. We got to see the first pick Thresh all 3 games last time around, and it's always a gambit, right? Like, we realize there's certain champions that are very important to teams, but if you say, you can first pick this, and we know you're good at that champion, but we get those next 2, sometimes you let that kind of stuff happen, and occasionally it's worthwhile. We've seen it backfire, of course, as well.
Yeah, there's always kind of the overarching meta of the patch.
Right.
Then when you go to a tournament like MSI, there's a tournament meta where top lane has all this priority and counter picks are important. Then there's also just match meta. Between 2 people. It's like, what champions do we share? What is the overlaps in our pools? What are the meta bans that we're going to have between us?
Sure.
Right here, Nunu off the table, you usually wouldn't see that, but they want to keep that away from Shrimp. And Hard, they don't really want him on it here.
And keep in mind, his counter jungle style, I mean, is Nunu or Rek'Sai, and we haven't seen him able to do much more outside of those champions. Yep. So, are you forcing the first pick Rek'Sai, leaving something else important?
I assume you ban it.
Maybe, right? But like, that's the thing, is if they don't ban it, you almost have to take this, or Hard just grabs it and goes, you've been denied, bro.
Yeah.
And that's how you play those games right there. So there's the Victor ban, right? This means Azir's open as the other big team fight mage, right? What Yasui wants to play, what Pekin Wolf wants to play. And so you've got this pinch right away. Sivir gets picked up there. By the way, Coast, that the 2 bans is correct here. They actually lost a ban due to tardiness, so that's why they only saw the Nidalee and Shen ban through. And you saw it, Rek'Sai's important, Azir's important, Sivir's important. They had to go over Sivir, leaving these things up.
Yeah, so the Rek'Sai is something that Shrimp has heavily favored. They leave it up, and now Cloud9 Tempest have the chance to actually get it away. I don't know if they were expecting this first pick Sivir, though. It is taking them a while to lock in, and I think they were actually thinking that they were going to get it because it wasn't that high of a priority for Mash. Mash is a guy who usually wants to just kill you in lane, not so much be the supplemental damage. He does play the Sivir, though, when he can get his hands on it.
That's absolutely true, but we'll see what he ends up doing with this one. Of course, he's got plenty of big carry threats. Chris and Shrimp, very high farm, very high damage players typically, so we'll see what that goes for. I do, though, this is C9 being trained by Charlie, though. This is them taking the entire time. You don't hover any champions. You make sure, like, this is what we're going for. Okay, click. Okay, lock. And you don't give away any information away. And interestingly, a completely different route from what I was expecting here. They say, you know what, Rek'Sai and Gragas both up? Forget that. Olaf Braum the rush pick with no supports banned except for, I guess, Shen. Braum was top dog here.
Yeah, Braum usually picked for his skirmishing power and the fact that he can just roam around the map as a two-man unit with the jungler and have that synergy. Also, top laners do fit into that synergy, and picking the Olaf so early on is actually a little strange because Solo was favoring Fizz. He was one of the only guys that was having Fizz banned against him constantly all throughout Challenger. And now he's taking a book out of
Zion.
Page out of Zion's there you go.
Well, the thing is Solo is one of the lane dominant top laners. Now, it's still a tall task to go up against Chris. We still consider him to be the best top laner here, but if that's going to be the battle to go for, the blind pick Olaf is going to be very interesting. And now, again, keep in mind, it is still a flex pick. If C9T goes for their mid laner and AD carry the next 2 slots, that can still come down to the jungle, and they can still make sure Solo gets a good matchup here. So Coast taking their time. They put Narp in the top lane. He's a strong laner no matter what the matchup is here, so that's what Chris is going to go for. We see Coast's entire bottom lane, and they're saving the rest of the lineup.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, looking at it, and I'm like, well, he has Ghost as a top laner, but I was like, oh, but Hard also has Ghost, still has his Summoner spell in the jungle. Yep. But they do lock in the Gragas. That's most likely a jungle Gragas, top lane Olaf at this point. Yeah. They're looking for power for engaging and also keeping Laud safe on that Kalista. He does have a good lane matchup up against the Sivir, though.
Well, it's going to be, yeah, exactly. It's a really, really good matchup here. And Braum Kalista especially is very, very strong. Braum has ways of closing the gap, making sure you land extra auto attacks, the Q into Kalista hops, you guarantee the CC practically. And his tossing him in allows him to be a really good engage tool. So I do like a lot of the C9T lineup. I think they need a Talisman of Ascension or Righteous Glory somewhere to make sure that Solo can do his job, but it's overall looking pretty good. Coast to take some time with their last few picks here. We've been talking about Rek'Sai, but of course Evelyn was still a good champion for Shrimp in general, so he may even just completely jump off what we thought was important and say it's actually something entirely different, and it is, but the Azir mid does come through.
I like it. It gives them some pressure. Also, they have a lot of disengage here. They have ranged Evelyn ultimate, which is honestly better than what Rek'Sai can bring to a team fight later in the game. And right now, they're just going to have people who run at you if they want to engage, or they have kite back potential. That's the big thing here. Is this Azir being locked in for Pekin Wolf is big. And I think this is going to be one of the games where Pekin Wolf is going to be able to step up, and they're going to actually focus more into him.
All right, we'll see if that happens then. Pekin Wolf definitely can do great things here on Azir. 5.14 Azir doesn't get the attack speed from CDR anymore, gets it from raking up the W, and it seems like these pro teams haven't missed a beat. So that's what he's going to go for in this one. TF goes in the mid lane now for Yasui. So an interesting setup here. Cloud9 Tempest going to be looking to really pick on the side lanes then. Olaf can be absolutely dominant. So can Kalista Braum. And as long as Gragas shows up alongside TF, those are very, very powerful ganks.
Yeah, and when you look at Coast and you look at the way that their stats break down, Pekin Wolf, he's the kind of the scrap lane. Like I said, he's the insurance policy. Picking Twisted Fate seems like a great idea against them because you want to go visit Mash. You want to go to that bottom lane as much as possible. Shut him down, shut down Chris, make sure Chris can't split push and snowball. And Yasui looks like he's locked in TP here. And I don't know if he's going to completely stay with that. But if he does, that gives him even more potential to visit both sides of the map and get rid of the fringes in the sides and shut them down and put more on Pekin Wolf's shoulders and see if he can deliver. That's the burden that they're going to try to put on Pekin.
All right, we'll see if he can actually win the push lead in that mid lane then to allow TF to not roam. But while we load into the game, take a few seconds and get over to Twitter and predict tonight's winner. Tweet either hashtag CSTWin or hashtag C9TWin to @LevelEsports, and we will tally up that vote in just a few minutes here. Let us know who thinks going to win this one. Crumbs yesterday said he thought this would be an incredibly close series. The numbers would not have you believe that. The stats and the seeds would not. But if C9T have improved that heavily, then they're going to be a real big threat here. Yesterday's series was awesome. Today's hope is just as good.
Yeah, and last time they met, which was the last week of the regular season, they split it 1-1. So we actually didn't get a whole bunch of resolution there, but we are going to get some resolution in this BO3 to see who goes on and at least plays for a spot in the LCS, and then the other goes to the third, fourth place match.
It's going to be a big one. Here we go. On to the Rift. Winner plays Renegades in a best of 5 for a spot in the LCS. Coast, they could bring their third incarnation in with this one. Qualified last spring and promptly left. And they initially had a spot at City University back in the 2013 season. We'll see if they can do much more here. Right now, default lanes, a couple of good aggressive wards. Solo will spot a Gromp start. Hard with some defensive trinkets, and the top lane jungle will be safe for Cloud9 Tempest. No really invasive wards by Coast here. I gotta say, small lead to C9T. You can see, actually, if you toggle the vision, you can see all the red wards are actually very aggressively placed up against the jungle, and they pretty much guarantee that there's nothing that Coast can do aggressively early game.
But get some money!
But that reveals where Shrimp is! He gave away his major advantage!
You don't see who attacks it from behind. It didn't go off.
You can see who has CS? No, you probably can't because he hasn't revealed himself.
You didn't see him.
You know what? Fine. Fine.
Got
you know
him.
what? Be that way.
Got him.
Shut up.
So they know that Shrimp is somewhere on the bottom side of the map, or he's starting Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
That'll key them off. The fact that this bottom lane isn't even going to get this camp either, just between the two of them in terms of experience, means that both are actually just leashing for their lane. Except, surprise, it's a lane swap. Sivir in the top lane.
Yeah.
Janna was going for the invade. Conquan making sure that they can't start a camp on this side of the map.
And I don't think this is actually a good thing for Coast here. So about a month ago, the North American lane swap metagame, the thing that everyone was doing was you actually did a camp at level 1 and you shut up to lane and you didn't care about freezing it because you would hard push the turret on waves 2, 3, and 4 and knock the turret down and build a freeze for your top laner. Coast are playing like it's 2 months ago and just building a freeze that I'm not sure actually does anything. I don't think the freeze is actually worthwhile, and the rest of C9T, right, are getting trained by an LCS analyst, Cloud9, one of the best level 1 teams in League of Legends, in North America at least. And I think C9T did a better level 1 as a result. We'll have to see how it pans out, but
we'll see. I mean,
judging by CLG and Team Liquid, that's usually better.
Well, Coast have St. Vicious now as their coach.
That's
so.
true.
See what he does for the squad. They're actually going for the 2-on-1 bottom, Janna Gnar, against the Kalista for Laud. I do like the lane swap, though, because of the fact it's Kalista versus Sivir. You don't always want to go into that matchup. And it's a Braum who could just stop a lot of the damage, and then you lose a lot of trades. Despite having a Janna, I do think it's a very good one. And there's Ignite on Sheep, so you can tell they're looking for some kill pressure in the lane.
Sure, yeah, the matchup's good. I'm glad that they're swapping the lane in the first place, but C9T going to swap back into a lane as a sideways matchup here. It's going to be the reverse 2-on-1 solo laners are the AD carries here. Trinket came just in time for Mash to not get ganked. There was actually some time for them to go for that when the vision was not there, but he will be safe in this one.
Yasui backing, getting a Doran's Ring, some potions,
Pink
ward, making sure that he's back with the TP early on. You're not going to be ganking that early anyway as a Twisted Fate and a lane swap.
Yep.
So I understand it, and I think it's actually really good.
But look at this.
3-man top.
Look what just happened. This is why this is not a good level 1 anymore, because you simply walk at the duo lane or at the AD carry, you zone him off on all that gold that he just tried to freeze. It's an 8 CS difference. And okay, great, you got XP on some of it, but now it's a pretty big disadvantage for Mash. He's under-leveled against Laud.
Yeah, I don't like that Conquan is in the duo lane. That's what I don't like about this, is that Conquan is down in the bottom with Chris.
You swap back. Shrimp waiting on the sides to see if there's a tower dive. There's not one.
Yeah,
and they're bringing Janna back up.
There's no reason to have your support next to your top laner against the AD carry.
Well, they were expecting the sideways 2-on-1s. I mean, C9T technically did that themselves, but they brought the jungler and hard pushed the wave. Like, C9T did that just properly. They did the 3-man tower dive that everyone does, and that's why no one freezes lanes anymore. So, well played by C9T. Small lead for them, 300 gold because of their level 1 setups. Shrimp does take some time to cannon jungle. Of course, he had seen Gragas just a little minute ago, but Hard will likely pick some of the scraps back up. Shrimp will try to track him through the jungle. Nice defensive pink. Expected that ward there. He was correct. Smart by Hard.
Yeah. but I'm going to go back to the support guarding it. Because Janna's a defensive support when Gnar is going to try to push up here, whereas Braum is always going to be pushing forward. Like, Janna's not an Annie. It's not going to help you kill that AD carry. So putting Janna where you think the pressure is going to be is the better way to allocate her and put her. So I would put her wherever the other enemy support is that's trying to kill her.
So you can't predict that, though, is the problem. You have to blind pick that situation. That's the difficulty there.
They had a lot of time to do it, though. They swap him back.
He did recall, but it was after the last of the wave.
Now they're throwing Janna up top with Gnar, which I think is right. You throw her towards where the other two are. Put her
in front of the Braum. Sivir, the 1v1 with Olaf, I do not like that matchup. I suppose it might be better than versus Kalista, but it just feels like Coast are trying to dodge bad matchups, but every single lane is a bad matchup for them right here. Unless they could get Janna Sivir versus Olaf specifically, and that matchup is just not being found right now. It seems to be like what they need to do to zone him away. 14 CS difference now. AD carry falling behind hard, looking for the backside play here. Going to trinket ward over the wall. And Shrimp will not spot the man just yet, but no tower dive looking right now. He should not reveal to the pink ward, should not walk into try. Whoa, barely tagged
That's
him,
Shrimp's. That's Shrimp's.
Holy crap,
Shrimp got a blue trinket.
Shrimp, that is ridiculous.
Oh, TP'd on.
He's TP. It's a 3v4. Can they get out of the turret? No, he's not. Shrimp's zoned down. Conquan's gone. First blood goes to Lod. Perfectly played tower dive, Cloud9 Tempest. And Chris is not out of the woods yet, misses the hop, but he's close to Mega Gnar. They're not going to go for him, they're just going to go for the minions.
That is crazy. And now you're going to see Mash decide to just push this bottom lane as much as he can. Twisted Fate, Yasui does have his ultimate, though. They're pinging out that he's moving. There's a lot of pressure on this squad right now on the side lanes. They might just get this turret.
Chris not really close to level 6 right now. Shrimp is around, but can't do all that much. A lot of damage comes through. Blasting Smite's going to buy enough time here. Shrimp, interestingly, did go Blasting Smite on Evelynn. That's actually a bit less common now after the Runeglaive changes, but choice is going for here. You watch the mid lane matchup, actually very equal. Peek and Wook just holding up against Yasui. That's kind of to be expected, though. It is a Twisted Fate. He's not the strongest of laners, and Azir should be just fine here. So playing out as anticipated, but a solid lead for Cloud9 Tempest. Top lane's going to go down. Well played in the early game.
And that TP coming in from solo and the ward placed by Hard being used as a TP target. That was really cool. I thought that was absolutely awesome. And Coast, I was looking at their games, and out of their 11 games, they got first blood in 91% of them. 10 out of those 11
10 of the 11, yeah.
The only time they didn't get first blood was versus Renegades.
In the win or the loss?
I think it was the loss.
All right.
This game, though,
yeah,
they didn't get first blood.
That is correct.
When they give up first blood,
they're 0-1.
They're 0-1.
They're 0-1. There we go. There's the rest of the stats. There's 0% in games that give up first blood. It's not a very big sample size.
But the fact that they don't give up first blood that often.
No, right. They're normally so good early game.
They're usually dominating these lanes, and Cloud9 Tempest are actually pulling different strategies on them. How many times have you seen that strategy where the top laner's TPing in the middle of the lane?
In the LCS. Fairly frequently, actually, when you misplay the level 1s, when St. Vicious hasn't learned the same kinds of level 1s that LCS teams have, and lo and behold, Charlie gave them a really good level 1. This is straight up the C9T bootcamp and the coaching staff paying off for these guys, and it worked out. It's an early gold lead now, C9T, 1,300 up, with a team with multiple globals here that allows them to create a lot of map pressure, and a turret's already gone, so they can abuse that lane even farther.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, when you rely on dominating the lanes and there's so much global pressure, you have to back off on your aggression because there's so much can show up where you are. You even saw Shrimp there take about 1.5 seconds to figure out while the TP was coming in, do I still want to walk in the turret?
Right.
Back and forth, back and forth. You have to second guess yourself. And as this game progresses and Twisted Fate starts coming into these, you don't get that type of luxury of thinking about your positioning while these globals are coming at you. You have to think about them before they come.
Yep.
Do I put myself too far forward? Can he get behind me? These types of things. And that's what we're going to be seeing happening here all throughout this game is Coast. They're probably going to look a little scared in this game because they have to play further back and wait for opportunities.
Sure, and I have to actually also ask then what Coast's typical scrim partners are. I know they're obviously, coming into this, they were the best team in Challenger. There's no question of that. They beat Renegades 2-1, counting the tiebreaker. Like, these guys were top dogs. And you got to expect that they were scrimming mostly LCS teams at a certain point, or at least some of the LCS teams. And so I just wonder how often in practice they were getting behind in early games. if they were getting scrims against teams like Enemy or Dignitas or something where they would actually fall behind early sometimes. Because, you know, what is their practice like in games with early deficits? You said in matches they are always ahead, basically, and if they get behind, they did lose. So now their practice from behind has to come into question. How good are they at reacting here, Shrimp? Does not get revealed by Hard. There's a flash engage. Goodbye! Holy cow! They didn't know he was there. Hard made that just happen.
Conquan did not have a ward up in time, and they're just picking on him right now. He's both deaths, and they're going to keep coming for him. Hard is out-rotating Shrimp in this game. The reason they're able to get those dives top in the first place is Hard showing up, having the right jungle movement in a 2-on-1, and he's able to actually pull these moves off. He's in the right place at the right time, and he's the one who placed the ward of the tri-brush there, and he's the one who just sat there waiting for the opportunity to present itself. Really well done there.
All of this is great. Yeah, and you're seeing the difference in styles too, right? Hard has done a great job of finding ganks, and yet even still, Shrimp is ahead of the guy in gold, even though he's got about 200 gold from assists here. You see a very close vote here, but Hard's made the ganks happen. We saw in Imagine versus Renegades. Moon basically hard carried game 2 by being the better ganker here. It can certainly matter quite a bit. And right now an early lead for Cloud9 Tempest as a result here, 2,000 gold up. Solo just fine on this top lane. Olaf, you can see how far up this lane is pushed, and he doesn't even care. He feels completely safe against Chris and the potential of Shrimp. Backs up now, but he was pushing. No big deal. Of course, they had seen Evelyn for a while.
Gotta back off. Maybe farmer camp. See what Solo does here, but he has to wait for the wave to equalize once again towards him. You back off, play it safe. You are the team that has the global pressure, though. You're one of the globals as the top laner, so you can't overextend
you can ult
that
TP,
much.
and if you're full health, ult TP gets you away from that gank no matter what. So
yeah, but you'd rather not.
Of course not. But when you keep in mind that like you overextending, your loss is I lose a 5-minute cooldown or a 4-minute cooldown. Your gain is I kill your turret if you don't react to me. And then how do you even make that choice as Coast then of like, well, we can burn a teleport by dedicating everyone to topside. Sick, that's a great idea, right? Like it's so difficult to play around this. I really do like that Olaf is back. I think he brings a really interesting texture to the game. And he's finally a successful split pusher. I've been waiting so long for like hard carry split pusher top laners to come around. We see someday play Riven sometimes, but I'm glad to see Olaf back in.
The funny thing is, too, if he overextends top and he keeps pushing, he's able to actually ulti TP somewhere, but that also means Yasui gets TP bot, and look at this, they're picking on Conquan again. He's been waiting so long for this.
Good ulti by him, shields himself as well, gets that with a Sivir ult. I mean, hey, well played right there. Yasui's TP's back into the mid lane.
They're looking for Yasui,
Shrimp's getting a lot of damage. He's got to flash away. Peek and Wolf can't quite do the damage. A well-played escape here, but Yasui also has home guard, so he'll get right back into lane, not losing much. That was real close there.
Yasui's TP is down. He can still use his ulti to get back as well if he wants. Hard, listen for a play. Are they going to kill on to Peek and Wolf? No.
He can't get the kill. Hard's got no ulti here, no flash as well.
Yeah, he already used it.
Now he absorbs the wave, and he might even just freeze it and wait for Yasui to come in. So Yasui,
that's
like,
a better idea. You don't want
he doesn't even miss gold. He just gets everything anyway.
Yeah, you don't want to give an advantage to Peek and Wolf. What Yasui's going to try to do is keep the pressure onto Peek and Wolf with these home guard boots very early on. The fact that he has teleport, you can't get him out of lane. And Peek and Wolf is pretty much the insurance policy of this team. Like I said before, this is the great strategy from Cloud9 Tempest that is tailored to their opponents.
Yeah, it's working out. It seems to not matter that Peek and Wolf's holding up in lane. I also got to keep pointing out the success rate of Hard's ganks versus Shrimp. Hard is 2 kills and then 1 near kill, and Shrimp, to be fair, did get a near kill, but it didn't even tax Yasui much. These mid laners are still basically equal. And I gotta wonder when things start looking better for Team Coast. Now, I know they have multiple ways to win the game. They've got multiple carries on this team. Chris is still farming decently. The Saber's not really far behind or anything.
Yeah, Peek and Wolf will eventually get this turret, though. He's got a lot of damage on it. It's about 1/3 HP, and he's chipping away at it slowly with his wave clear and harass. They did see Gragas. They did see Hard.
But he's tracking Evelyn. This is good play by Hard in the jungle. His ward game is definitely solid. He's going for the early sight stone. The wards are there.
Pretty far up.
Should know to be safe, and he's got to be, wow, really nicely done. Gets away from the explosive cast. Good
Just
play.
Barely on the other side of it while he was using his slide there.
Really, really solid.
See what Shrimp does. The blue buff is up. It looks like he might be going for a gank here, or at least looking for one. The ward was cleared previously, so he knows that he's safe. But both blue buffs are up at the moment, and Solo has priority on the top lane. This is the guy who's always up at CS, about 3, 10 minutes, and then he likes to push in. His name used to be the solo king, because that's what he loves to do. But his name is also a little misleading, because when I talk to him, he always talks about how he looks up to Marin. He looks up to a guy who gets home guard boots first, and then TPs into other lanes to help the team out. So over time, he's been adopting a new style, but the blind pick Olaf seems to be something that he's taken from Zion, and the pressure that it has in top lane. It's working out in this game.
I guess he's a bit of a chess fan then, if he's thinking about the king and he's just casting over to the other side of the map. I think it works out. Hard coming in here towards the bot side. Dragon is on the table, and bot lane's been dominant the whole time around, so an easy push towards Dragon. This looks like no contest whatsoever. Hard's already been warding that side of the jungle. It's going to be a free one. Ren, smite, not a problem whatsoever. Man, dipped down to 370. There was, I guess, a theoretical chance of a flash smite if he was around, but well cleaned up. Cloud9 Tempest, 2,000 gold up. First Dragon as well. Nothing but good things to say about this team so far in the early game. You did mention that mid lane getting lower. It is happening still. There's always the chance that Peking Whip does knock down that mid lane and it gets back closer to equal in this game. But really, it's the only sort of glimmer of hope so far on the Coast lineup.
Get it here.
All right, there we go. Something does happen here. Chris, so far in the top lane matchup, hasn't really made much of a dent in solo.
This is good, though. When you get the Twisted Fate turret, it pushes him back, means that his line of where he can TP to, it becomes more risky to actually go off to the sides. Yeah. Also, the wards that you typically place to spot out where he's going to, where he backs up and he walks to the left or walks to the right, they also are doubly effective because you get to track the jungle at the same time. Yeah,
I mean, TF is now super not in range of any potential ultis. The side lane outer turrets are still up for C9T, so he can't reach any of the members of Coast, so Yasui will be locked in this lane for a while longer. He'll be more for the late game emphasis, going for the standard build with cooldown boots into Lich Bane. That's what everyone is buying now. Interesting how that kind of settled up over time. Bot lane, you can see the Sivir's able to wave clear quickly by herself. Tempest oddly actually not choosing to freeze the lane. They're happy to make it go back to equal. I'm surprised at that because it feels like they're so good at warding and denying vision, they could set up a freeze and try to get hard to gank. In this case, he's spotted on the way out, but as a general setting, I'm a bit surprised not to see lane freezing more often in this game.
I'm surprised he went for that bush, because he knows the other one is pinked by his own team.
I think so my guess is he didn't realize that Conquan had warded that one already, because it was a recently placed ward. And last time he got the kill, Conquan like walked to the brush and then just like got jumped on. If he's gonna play around like warding, then maybe it works out. All right, so the choice is for C9T to hard push. They want to knock the turret down. They kept hard around.
Yeah, they saw Shrimp clearing the Raptor camp. They're using Shrimp's counter jungling to their own advantage. They're warding their own jungle, and they're making it so that whenever he goes for the counter jungle, they actually get something on the other side of the map. Small objectives overtime. Lod looks like he really wants to dedicate this, but look at this. Here comes TP.
Exhaust onto Lod. The ulti's going to stop Chris for a while. Oh! Body slam as well from Hard. Really trying to stop him up. Chris still has flash, though. Knocking the team. Nar puts the backlight into the wall, and they're going to rush down Lod. They get him, but here's the counter engage. Chris very low, gets taken out. Solo now joins the fray on Olaf. He's going to be angry. The damage onto Shrimp. Good luck. Evelyn running away. The axe hits Conquan, his third death of the game. 4-1. The chase is still in. They really want Shrimp. Okay, not that bad.
Mid-turret, though. They trade all that for mid-turret. It actually ends up being relatively even.
This bot lane's going to go down, though. So plus
there you go.
1 kill for, honestly, roughly equivalent turret trade. Pekin Wolf, yeah, okay, you push mid. That's cool. But Cloud9 Tempest now sitting so decently in gold.
It's the global comp. As soon as you got that first kill, you should have been backing off. Chris, that was actually really cool because Chris was going for the leap to Meganar people into the wall, and you're going to see the body slam actually stop his jump. He's going to jump right here, right into it. Stops.
Really sick.
Sheep gets out scot-free, and Hard would have been pushed back as well. And also,
I'm surprised Hard didn't die.
Yeah,
they got him out there.
Very surprised. But if that hadn't have happened, it would have been the perfect position, and you saw Yasui's TP location was actually barely relevant in that fight. He got into the big cluster of people on the top right. If you were able to Meganar people back, Yasui wouldn't have been as effective in that fight.
That's true. Coast honestly did give away an extra kill. They didn't need to. You talked about
they should have gotten that 1 kill.
Right. You talked about the ulti's coming in, the teleport's coming in, and backing off at that point. That second kill was completely unnecessary. They dove in into a known 3v4. They knew Pekin Wolf was still mid pushing the turret down. They had no reason to re-engage that. So unfortunately for Coast fans, a gifted kill towards Cloud9 Tempest. But of course, hey, C9T honestly capitalizing fairly well. And the thing is now, though, there's no more like mid-turret to kill. Like, you're not going to knock inhibitor turret down in any like a reasonable game here. So there's no more tax to be paid for Yasui's teleport.
Whoa. Shrimp.
He's going to live.
Just walking right up.
Pretty immune to Braum, though, because you can just W the Q, and then you're like, I'm out. And you're not going to get the stun landed on you. It's almost impossible. So I think Shrimp is okay in the general setting. Knight shows himself, but to really no avail. Bit of damage to the sheep.
Twisted Fate ulti back up.
Alright, Peek and Whiff is going for the Riley's Crystal Scepter. The exact same build for Shrimp, by the way. I don't love that. The ulti. Attempts Sivir ulti to get the team out, and a completely whiffed Braum Fissure as well. Ult for ult, but a big one down. Sivir ulti is so important for a team there. Got the inside track on mid, but they can't really knock an inhibitor turret down. This seems like a bit of wasted time. I'd like to see him go top side. Yeah, and pressure the Olaf. They couldn't be stopped. They would knock down top outer for certain. But they just kind of filtered back down to the bottom side of the map. Dragon respawns in 45 seconds. I don't think Coast are going to have the mindfulness to pressure Baron to stop Dragon attempts. And even still, it's against double global. Well, actually, single global. TP's still down for solo. Solo also growing a lead over Chris right now. You're seeing the CS now plus 17. It's been very, very slowly, to be fair, growing over time. With Peek and Wolf in time for Dragon, that's a big deal. You know, the other blue is alive and should be easily picked up for Yasui. He's going to recall back, home guard in, and be ready for the buff. No Zonias, though. Yasui's actually going for Abyssal Scepter second. I know it's really common for TS. I don't see the merit in it personally. I haven't seen it work out in a competitive game that well. It feels like you want the Zonias so badly, but what we see players use.
It looks like it's going to be double Rylai's for the side of Coast.
Yeah.
You see Giant's belts.
Yep. Yeah, Shrimp and Peek are both buying that.
This is a team that does want to kite back a little bit when they fight. But you can't really
slow Olaf.
Yeah, you can Emperor's Divide and divide him from his team.
That's true.
But he's still extremely strong. If Solo gets to the point where he can actually destroy your backline by himself while everybody's on him, then he's going to be in a really good place to actually take over this game.
Yeah. Isolated Olaf is definitely killable, though.
Yes,
he loses the bonus resist when he pops the ulti to dodge CC, so yeah, if you separate him, this guy is gone for certain. You kite him back, he can't lifesteal. That's how Solo would live. And actually, Coast is able to pressure into the mid lane. They pushed up, plus the Zero turret just forced C9T to hold the mid side. Actually, very impressive that Coast managed to knock that one down, trying to squeak their way back into this one. And they've done so to pick up a Dragon. That's a big boost in stats this late in the game. Deep wants in, a lot of damage. Conqua's going to be knocked into the team. Pops something for no avail. Solo gets the first kill picked up already. He's separated for a bit, but just walks cleanly away. A 1-for-0. Azir wants to do some damage, but Sheep just gets ulted out by Lot. He's totally safe.
Trading turret for Conquan. Conquan, Shrimp.
I think Shrimp is fine here. He should know. Never mind. Goes pop. It's not a good thing. God is the axe. Dodge does not dodge that one. There's going to be one more hit to take him out. Solo gets him. Chris will land a slow, but there's no follow-up really available. His teammates are too close. A 2-for-0 C9T just completely crushing the team fights.
I love the draft here from C9T and the way that they're playing it. It's anti-Coast. It's against the whole Coast style. They're letting Peek and Wolf dominate the mid lane, but they know he's not the type of mid laner who leaves this lane
and takes over the game.
Snowballs it into other lanes. I absolutely love this because they're not just preying on champions and things like that. They're preying on tendencies of the players.
Good stuff right here, man. They have definitely knocked down the matchups. You saw Coast, they played for the first pick, Sivir Gambit, and didn't expect to get wrecked that hard by Kalista, it seemed. The lane swap just went so poorly.
Once again, hard here. Boom. Barrel backwards. And right as Conquan ultis, too.
That means he could have flashed, though, and would have gotten away from the barrel, so that's a misplay by Conquan.
Hard is getting some really good against Gragas. You can see why they took Gragas so early on, and they didn't even take Rek'Sai. They weren't afraid of Shrimp's Rek'Sai. They let him have his Evelynn, which he went for, and over it. But this Gragas is doing a lot of work. You can see these first few picks for C19. Every pick, actually, across the board working out.
Wow, Cloud9 Tempest making a really smart play, going for a Baron 24 minutes in. Honestly, Coast has no reason to be bot side this late into the game. I mean, yeah, Chris can try to stop, but I don't think it's going to be easy successful. Solo can TP in to defend. Yasui's got a gold card. This is going to be a bit risky, though. Yasui's stuck in the pit, actually, forced to flash away, and I take it back, Coast. Able to stop the Baron attempt cleanly enough.
Yeah, Peek and Wolf has enough damage. When you have that Gnasher's Tooth and the attack speed from your W and your level 14, you're able to just chunk people very, very quickly. And if you start hitting them in the pit, you're doing that bonus damage from the Baron debuff, and you're getting Rylai. So if they don't move out of the first hit, you actually get 3 hits on them due to attack speed and slow.
Down nicely, there we go. Red buff goes over to Mash, a counter jungled red thanks to the fact that C9T got chunked out, had to run away from the Baron pit. Well enough executed defense here. The game back within 1,300 gold, but it gave a lot of time for this Olaf to split push in the bottom lane. Now 30 minions up over Chris, and Solo doing exactly what Chris normally does to people. Get a big lead, take over team fights. Solo doing a great job on this Olaf. Picked it first round red side. Did not care about counter picks and is definitely crushing this game.
And this might be uncomfortable territory for Chris in the challenger scene. He's used to dominating that lane and being the one split pushing himself. Now he has to deal with the split push threat. I don't know if he's up to the task. Right now, he's doing an okay job. He's pretty much in survival mode. When you get to this, as a top laner, you cut your losses, you look for the big screw-up of the enemy top laner, or you call your jungler down. But otherwise, you're sitting on your hands just playing wave clear duty and waiting for your team to actually make a move.
Well, right now, Chris looks experienced in the matchup, going for a health stack against Olaf. Very smart. He's built armor pen and has true damage.
Frozen Mallet.
Looks like he is. That doesn't go into Mallet, though, does it? Is it Giant's Belt and... Oh, it is, isn't it? Yeah, Giant's Belt and Ruby and Pickaxe. I forgot there was Ruby Crystal in that recipe. I knew there was a Giant and Pickaxe.
There were 2.
Going for a health stack. Yeah, I guess you're right, because Giant's Belt builds for one of them. Yeah, okay, but still, yeah, going for a health stack item. I mean, of course, Mallet works against Olaf, but still, it's very smart that he's going for health stack specifically against this type of champion. This should still be okay for Chris, and it'll make Solo have to be a bit more appreciative of how this matchup might play out.
So, I talk a lot about how C9T are playing their comp and playing on the tendencies of Coast, but Peek and Wolf is still a huge threat. Highest CS in the game.
Oh, hold on.
He can take over it. Shrimp snuck into this bush, though. He's behind him.
Goodbye, Lod.
Oh,
goodbye, Lod. AP Evelyn's a thing. Mash helping that as well. Sheep gonna go down. Did not get ulted out by Kalista first. Oh, now he's able to jump away safely enough. Flash
They're gonna get this turret. They're gonna even up the gold here by getting this turret.
Yep.
And then Coast are gonna have 4 turrets to 2, with a couple still to claim for C9T, but they're going to be back up in that safe area where they're up in gold, or even in gold.
All right, Coast have worked through an incredibly difficult early game that was dominated by Hard, and the gold is back to equal there, Chris.
I like this. So they've pulled Peek and Wolf from the mid lane.
Finally.
You're up against a global comp. Group up! Because the only place they have to go is to your cluster of people.
And the thing is, what was so clutch, by the way, was the fact that they actually managed to basically one-shot Lod. Because if you ever gank the lane that's not the global, you get outnumbered.
Exactly.
Peek and Wolf was not top lane yet. There was an absolute possibility of starting a 4v5 or a 3v5. Didn't happen. C9T managed to basically not show up in time, and the burst from Coast knocked him down.
They're praying off the back
again. They're trying to knock him down.
Yasui used his ulti. Nobody's nearby. They're going to get this before anybody even shows up. They have to TP into this right now.
It's not going to be really in time. Chris on the backside here. The burst coming through. He's going to go some damage. Red team picks up Baron with a Gnar bar into the wall. Shrimp's in the front line. He gets survived for now. The knock back from Hard will not disengage very much. Solo running. The ulti's on, but there's still only so much they can do to run away. A great barrel by Hard furthers the slow. Chris lands a 2-man boomerang. It's another slow for the team. And Mash, though, still without the ultimate for a few more seconds, cannot make this chase quite happen. He was a 10-second cooldown away from chasing these guys down.
That was a great Baron call there. They knew that they were going back. Yasui pops his ultimate, gets full vision of everybody on the team, and they know the limitations with the Kalista. Great rend there, and able to just pick it up. No problem. Good call.
It's not done yet, though. The quick recall and the rush down towards the bottom side of the map. Coast wants this dragon, but they're not going to get it cleanly.
It's too late.
Chris is stuck on the top side. He won't be for this one. And Coast, if they go for this one, this could be a huge failure on their part. There's only a couple ultis missing. Sivers is back up, but guess what, Coast? You're stuck inside Dragon Pit.
Exactly. They have to get out. They have to seed this dragon. Just let it go. That'll be the second one for C9T. Now C9T get control of the game. They have a split push composition. You have Solo, who is stronger than Chris at this moment. You have the Twisted Fate, and you have all this big 3-man unit that does have disengage, where you can pull the Braum back and you can disengage. So they have the option of moving up as 5 or split pushing. And now they're split pushing with the Twisted Fate. Really good call here with the Baron buff.
And they're going to get a blue buff stolen away as well. TF's already splitting in the bot lane. His ult's down, but the TP's up, so not even a problem for Yasui here.
Yeah, it's one of the most efficient Baron teams. They're the most effective ones.
Oh, yeah.
Where you split push, you make use of every single buff.
And they even have champions that are good at hitting the turrets down so that the hard-to-clear minions gum up the works long enough for TF to really chunk these things down. Olaf is even a pretty safe turret hitter as well, since he can't be CC'd if he chooses to do so. Coast trying to make some pressure happen, though. They're still missing the teleport on Chris, so them being in the mid lane is still a small risk that they could get jumped on and outnumbered, but Coast Shrimp still doing what he can to take this game over, take the jungle camps away. Shrimp is 1,200 gold above hard right now. He's that high up in CS. The team with Baron, the team with more assists. It just does not matter. Shrimp, though, going tank after the Riley's pickup there. He stopped at Runeglaive. Riley's going for what looks to be a Randuin's as his next item here. But he's not the main carry threat. It's the 3-item Azir in the mid lane. Pekin Wolf needs Sork shoes soon.
There is a lot on Pekin Wolf in this game. Like, if you can get the ideal team fight for an Azir, then you're back in the game. You have control of it after that. He's going to be able to shred almost everybody on this team, save for the Olaf, the Gragas. You can get rid of Yusui very quickly. You can get rid of Vlad very quickly if they miss position. But the kiting backwards is something that needs to happen in this game for Coast if they want to have a chance.
Well, Gragas does not have a whole lot of armor. You've got Janus Saber. That's a lot of DPS in a team fight here. There's a good chance that this actually can pan out well. I mean, you saw the kind of damage Mash did when they killed off Vlad. I do think, sort of, and especially because Sheep is melee, a lot of Vlad's teamfight damage goes down. Okay, throwing in Braum is really good teamfight power because he can actually do some crazy stuff with the ulti, but the damage output of Kalista does actually hinge a bit on the usage of her W passive, and Braum can't trigger that easily. So there is, I would say, more damage coming out of Sivir in these teamfights by a fair bit.
Oh yeah, especially with the Ricochet compared to the Runans.
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah. Also going for Last Whisper third, so he'll be on curve. This is honestly still a very, very close game. Baron Nashor buff times out, and C9T are actually still behind in turret kills. Whether they're good at split pushing or not, nothing happened when that went down. So we're still at a 2,000 gold game. Everyone coming online here, everyone at 3 items plus. Chris with a red elixir, he's ready for the team fight. 3-item spike for both mini carries is a big deal.
He doesn't have resistances, though. That's the big thing is he's prioritized HP to duel solo, whereas solo is prioritizing for team fights. He's got the Randuins, he got the Hex Drinker very early on, so he's actually trying to dive the back line, and when he does, survive. Use the Randuin, slow people down, get to Pekin Wolf, get to Mash, and actually put threat on them so they have to hit solo and they can't hit the back line.
Well, that's the thing is solo can't CC, whereas Chris can, so you get to kind of like cheat your defensive stats by being, well, if you're stunned, you can't hit back, so screw you guys. Where solo's like, I'm gonna walk at you, I hope I don't die. You definitely have to build that way, but you're right. I mean, solo is a much tankier member, and that can be a big threat. Right? Keep in mind, like, Shrimp also detoured for 2 offensive items in his build, so the front line is squishier.
Yeah, and he's also kind of cheating it as well because he has the Elixir of Wrath. So when he deals physical damage to champions, he heals for 10% of that, and that includes Gnar ultimate,
the W.
It includes all of those things. So that actually is kind of a defensive stat for him in team fights, where if he gets mildly low, he can just Gnar ulti and get a big chunk of health back.
He's got 30% of HP, I think.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that HP is a bad defensive statistic.
No, I mean, you're right.
Solo is prioritizing other defensive statistics while having some HP himself. He's got actually a very perfect mix of damage and
I mean, this is like the standard Olaf build, really. Yep, this is what pretty much everyone goes for. Looked up Zion's games a little bit back.
Black Cleaver.
Yeah, Black Cleaver into Maw. That specifically is actually a big deal.
It's for the dueling power. Look at this. It looks like Yasui's actually on the side, ready to TP in.
Here we go.
They're going for
Gnar. They force Chris's flash, and the damage still comes through. Oh my gosh, that damage. Yeah, he can try to cheat a little bit. He lands a stun, he lands a slow, but there's no follow-up, because guess what? No one else can join that lane. So yeah, Chris burns some spells, and he does some damage, but man, imagine that mid laner had TP themselves. Pekin Wolf could have crushed people. That's the strength of this kind of comp.
That was so close. Chris, he wants to duel him so badly. He wants to get that kill.
Here's the play, though. Keep in mind, Yasui's really not around right now, so the play towards mid, they can't quite do enough. They force a couple retreats, but really it's only Hard's flash that got lost. But Coast was still pushing other sides of the map. Bot lane tier 2 goes down. And look, Chris lost the TP and a flash, but they have to put a turret down, and Coast really clawing their way back into this game.
Yep, only 1,000 gold down again. Even less than 1,000 gold. They're putting themselves in a position to get Scuttle and get the Dragon, but Baron is lined up exactly with the Dragon timer right now.
Well, that means C9T needs to play around those teleport timers. They have TP advantage for Solo. They have, I mean, literally TP advantage for Yusui as well. So playing around one to deny the other is very easy. C9T can send like just Yusui hard, do Dragon without any issues, and just threaten Baron at all times. Say if you check us at one, we take the other. And so Coast have to play this on, I think, really smart to make this work.
QSS for Laud.
Yeah.
And QSS the Gnar stun if it happens to him. I think that's about it. Get some slows off of him, but that's really the hard CC that he'd be looking for. Possibly an exhaust, but fourth item, QSS, will dip his damage in comparison to Mash, who looks like he's going to go for a Bloodthirster.
Right, Coast going to go for the hardcore play. They're going to hope it works. Of course, Solo has teleport. Exactly. They can show. So Coast just hoping this works out. Here's the teleport. 4,000 health. How good are their smites? There they go. Picked up by Shrimp. Hard stunned up, and the fight has begun. The knockback means Solo is alone. Exactly as they needed it to be. And Coast can now chase Shrimp. The three-man slow. They go in. Hard to disengage, but it's a Riley Zazir. A double kill for Mash, and Coast still pushing in. Yasui's gone as well. 3 kills plus Baron, perfectly executed by Coast.
That's the perfect fight right there. Force the Baron, force the TPs, and then section off Solo. They're still gonna get Lot too.
Lot. And by the way, mid is easy. They'd already knocked down 2 turrets because of the dedication to the lane by Peking Wolf. This is at least the inhibitor. There's a wave right here.
They might get game.
It's gonna be close. They will try. They will try, but it's not a guarantee. It's gonna be tenuous. Sheep
they're gonna get
the big shield. They're gonna try. Certainly Solo up in 5 seconds. Turret number 1 might be going down, but minions are not in range, so it's not a backdoor bonus. Shrimp losing some health. Shrimp and Sheep still blocking some damage. Now Hard's alive and Coast.
They're going for broke.
5v3, trying to win. They're losing some health, but Hard coming in. They're pushing in. Chris has attack damage. Sheep goes down. Solo knocks down Conquest. A double kill. Chris trading blows back and forth, but in they go towards the Nexus, and alive comes Kalista, but not in time. That's the game. A comeback win in game 1 for Coast.
Oh man, that one play. All you need is that one play.
Yep.
And then they outplayed them. Pekin Wolf with the Azir ulti, exactly how I was talking about it. It'll put Solo in a bad place, and they capitalized, took the fight, knew their limits there at the end. You were saying, I don't know if they're going to go for it. I'm like, I think they are going to go for this.
Sure.
And then they end the game off that one play. And it ended up being just 36 minutes, and they were still down in kills at the end of the game. 8-9 in kills.
Honestly, it was a very smart call by Team Coast. I mean, to be fair, it was still a 50-50 smite. Greg was in range. He could have landed a smite.
Like 600.
But it worked, right? It happened. Shrimp landed the smite. They put the trust in him, and it did work out here. The team without the Kalista, they just went for it there. C9T were late to the party. That, to me, is a little bit inexcusable. I really feel like in a perfectly played game, C9T sets the wards up, is aware of the Baron attempt, and just does like a 2-man dragon and saying, you can't go for Baron. But as it happened, Coach was there first. They got it down to 2,000 health before the rest of C9T were in range. When the engage came in, the Azir ulti didn't even touch Kalista. It didn't touch half the members of the team. It was Olaf and Gragas being in melee range with no one else around and overcommitting to the Baron fight, hoping they would stop it. There was a fatal flaw, a fatal mistake, and down it went.
And a lot of the strength of a global comp is the fact that these characters are not super good inside of a team fight.
Of course not.
Twisted Fate, no Zhonya's that game. Yusui didn't have a Zhonya's. He went for the death cap, and he was working on his Zhonya's. He's not able to dive the backline and provide that Twisted Fate threat right onto the carries and stop them. But what ended up happening is they ended up using that as the weakness of the team. Because you're a global comp, we're going to all group up, take this Baron, force you to fight us, and it was the 50-50 smite. It was a fight that ended up going their way, basically based off of 1 or 2 mechanical plays inside of it that separated people. So it was a big risk, but it looked like Coast were saying, we're done fighting you on global terms. We're going to go with the team fight that our comp is made for. It is a Sivir composition with an Azir. Just pick the team fight. And when Pekin Wolf was actually able to contribute, he ended up having the most damage in the game. Yeah,
it was a solid game by Team Coast. Their overall shot calling was great. Their overall macro sense was awesome. Their level 1, they got outclassed. Props to C9T for that one. But in shot calling terms, Coast absolutely deserved that one. A well-played game. They deserve that game 1. They've gotten it. But guys, we have a quick break coming up. So when we return, it's game 2 between Cloud9 Tempest and Team Coast. Don't go anywhere. It's a really good match. No. Only I can.
Did you go potato this time?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Potatoes are awesome.
I've never heard potato before.
Just like Far Cry. Chris very low, gets taken out. Solo now joins the fray on Olaf. He's going to be angry. There they go, picked up by Shrimp. Hard stunned up, and the fight has begun. The knockback means Solo is alone. Solo knocks down Conquest. A double kill. Chris trading blows back and forth, but in they go towards the Nexus.